God morgen alle sammen. God morgen, god morgen. Dette her jo faktisk en litt sånn uvant opplevelse, det å ha folk man må be om å være stille. Det har vært veldig lett å være konferansier nå et års tid, for det har liksom ikke vært noen å hysje på. Men hjertelig velkommen til alle dere som har kommet hit i dag morges, og veldig hjertelig velkommen til alle dere som ser på der hjemme. Vi vet at det over 300 som har meldt seg på, og det ganske fullt i salen her sånn, og det veldig hyggelig, og det betyr at det også ganske mange der hjemme som ser på, så det setter vi pris på. Velkommen til Inkluderende design i praksis. Dette en serie med webinarer hvor målet har vært å løfte fram vinnerne fra Innovasjonsprisen for universell utforming. Og nå har vi kommet til den tredje i rekken, og denne gangen så skal det handle om Flytoget, eller det nye Flytoget. Dette et arrangement i regi av Doga. Det i samarbeid med IXDA og norske designere. Det blir også lagt ut en tekstet versjon av denne innspillingen etter at vi ferdig her i dag. Aller først så ligger den sånn som den men etterpå så kommer det også etter hvert en tekstet versjon da. Jeg heter Eirik Normann Hansen, og jeg har fått gleden av å lede oss igjennom da denne halvannen timen frem til 11:30 i dag. Og i dag så skal det jo handle om tog, om reise nå og reise inn i fremtiden. Jeg leste her for litt siden en artikkel hvor noen mente at den internasjonale romstasjonen, ISS, den som driver og snurrer rundt jordkloden, den blir antagelig et luksushotell i 2027. Det kjenner jeg gleder meg til. Da trenger vi jo et fett tog å komme dit hvor man da skal komme seg opp til den til. Så det ser jeg veldig, veldig frem til. Det som spennende også jo å se hvordan vi endrer reisevaner, hvordan preferansene våre endres, hvordan vi kanskje nå etter å ha vært igjennom en ganske spesiell periode også kommer til å endre oss enda mer. Og det som helt sikkert at forventningene våre, oss som publikum, de blir bare større og større. Vi stiller strengere krav, større krav til komfort, til funksjonalitet, og ikke minst hvordan ting rundt oss ser ut. Tjenesten tog, den jo ikke bare et tog lenger. Det handler om liksom fra jeg får en eller annen idé om at jeg kanskje skal på tur, begynner å lete etter, finne ut hvor jeg skal, søke opp billetter, finne ut hvor jeg skal dra, kjøpe billett, komme ombord på toget, være på toget, det som skjer etter at jeg har vært der. Vi begynner å bli opptatt av liksom hele tjenesten som omfavner også den fysiske installasjonen tog. Og i dag så skal det også handle om Flytoget og det nye Flytoget. Altså, vi skal få treffe Jeremy White fra Seymourpowell, som har hatt ansvaret for innvendig og utvendig design av det nye Flytoget. Og så skal det et innlag både om å designe kundeopplevelser over forventning, og om å designe hvordan fremtiden for reise blir. Men aller først så skal det handle om forretningsverdien av inkluderende design, og vi skal få treffe administrerende direktør i Flytoget. Ta godt imot Philipp Engedal.
Inclusive design isn't about designing for people with reduced mobility. It's about designing for everybody. And therefore we've got to make every part and every touch point in the train intuitive and simple to use. One of the extraordinary things about Flytoget is they are year on year voted the best customer service brand in Norway. And when we first discovered this, we needed to make sure that we protected that, and we developed a product that could take them not just for the now, but into the future.
Vi så hen til det gamle, og så tenkte vi hvordan kan vi gjøre det enda bedre. Og det som nyskapende at vi har tatt ut og makset det vi kunne her. Vi har et tog som så bredt som det kan være. Det så høyt som det kan være. Og det ikke bare innvendig, men også da interiørmessig, så brukerne har fått et mye romsligere tog.
Each of our normal cars is split into 4 individual compartments, which reduces the amount of people in each space, reduces the stress of traveling. Everybody is facing in the same direction, seeing their luggage, where their luggage is placed, again, trying to reduce anxiety and calmness. And there's a big screen which is delivering you all the important information. And all of these things are tricks in order to deliver upon our overall philosophy of tranquility. For example, we have the low car area where we have level access. And of course, this is really driven by the need to get wheelchairs on and off the train. But we didn't want this space to be just a wheelchair space. This space was designed to be acceptable and universal to everybody who used it. So we wanted to make it a space where families could join and have convivial experiences. There's a place to work and with the stand-up desk. And it really becomes a destination space, if you like, rather than a space purely for people of reduced mobility.
Det har en gjennomført universell utforming fra du ser toget, fra du kommer inn gjennom dørene med enkel adkomst til togene, store, brede inngangspartier, lyssetting, volum, hvordan vi formidler informasjon, brede, fine seter.
Også legge vekt på at ting ikke bare skal være funksjonelt, men også skal se fint ut, skal føles behagelig. Så hvis du ikke skal bare konkurrere på pris, men du skal kunne evne å differensiere deg og ta ut en betalingsbillett hvor folk føler at de får noe igjen, så tror jeg man skal vektlegge det at det skal være en behagelig opplevelse. Jeg synes jeg ser alt for mye steder hvor man skal bare spinke og spare og få minusløsninger, og da retter man seg en publikum som føler at de må ta det, snarere enn at de vil bruke den tjenesten. Så der tenker vi litt annerledes. Vi tenker at her kan man legge litt ekstra anstrengelser i både brukeropplevelse, men også da i opplevelse av design. Og at man da måtte klare å hente det ut igjen ved at folk har lyst til å betale litt ekstra.
Nyskapende i dette prosjektet totaliteten med design, et høyhastighetstog, stor fokus på de universelle områdene. Det en helt unik design dette her.
God morgen. Mitt navn Philipp Engedal. Jeg flytogsjef på 5. året. Hyggelig å være her. Vi snakket om fremtidens reise med oss. Det viktig at folk begynner å reise nå. Det har vært litt stusslig siste tiden, så vi setter pris på de snarlige reisene. Jeg skal snakke litt om Flytoget, røpe litt forretningshemmeligheter, hvorfor vi tenker det som vi gjør. Litt gjengitt på filmen. Jeg skal også vise noen eksempler på det fra våre nye tog. Men jeg vil også selvfølgelig takke for prisen. Det alltid hyggelig å få priser. Det en stor anerkjennelse for oss i Flytog at det vi gjør blir lagt merke til. Og det inspirerer jo til videre arbeidet. Og ikke minst også det at noen bryr seg om dette her, at vi tar fram løsninger som universelt utformet og inkluderer alle. Jeg regner med at de fleste kjenner godt til Flytoget, så jeg skal ikke bruke mye tid på det, men jeg har noen foils på highlights eller skrytebilder om dere vil, så det kommer jeg gjennom på et par slides. Men det går alltid, det står på tavlen her, og det vårt kundeløfte. Det jo ikke alltid man ser togtjenester i avisen når det går alltid, det vel snarere når det ikke går, men det vårt kundeløfte, det vi strekker oss etter. Og så har vi en visjon som heter null stress, og de to begrepene gjennomsyrer mye av det tankesettet som vi opererer etter i Flytoget. Flytoget ble etablert sammen med en ny hovedflyplass på Gardermoen i 98, og mål og hensikt var å ha en kort reisetid til den nye flyplassen, og en høy kollektivandel. Og det tok jo 19 minutter med taxi fra Oslo S til Fornebu, og tar også 19 minutter fra Oslo S til Gardermoen, men kun da med Flytoget. Og det gjør jo at man skaper en fordel med kollektivtrafikk fremfor biltrafikk, og det har man da lykkes godt med. Og siden starten så har over 100 millioner reisende sittet på med oss, og flere skal det bli. Og for å sette litt i perspektiv, så det slik at Flytoget har dobbelt så mange reisende som det Arland Express har, som en flyplass som like stor. Og over det antall reisende som Heathrow Express har, som betjener en flyplass som 3 ganger stor som Oslo lufthavn. Så det setter det litt i perspektiv. Vi et statlig eid selskap. En statlig suksess kan man kalle det. Vi eid av næring av Fiskeridepartementet, og vi mottar ingen subsidier. Vi opererer helt kommersielt. Og det vi klarer å skrape ut av utbytte, det går tilbake til staten. Så det har vært en veldig hyggelig reise også for eier, selvfølgelig med unntak av pandemier og reiserestriksjoner. Det klart det vanskelig å drive kommersielt. Dette har også vært en målsetning fra flyplassen å ha en høy kollektivandel til og fra flyplassen, og den har vi slått flere ganger. Vi på over 70%, og det betyr at Oslo lufthavn har den høyeste kollektivandelen i Europa, som også veldig stolt over. Ikke bare vi, men også de andre som bidrar her. Vi jo ikke alene på sporet, eller vi kjører ikke buss heller, så det flere som bidrar her. Dette kanskje det som motiverer vår organisasjon aller mest, og det hva kundene synes om oss. Og BS kundebarometer noe vi gleder oss til når det kommer hvert år, og nysgjerrig på. Og vi har vunnet hele 6 ganger, og det en undersøkelse som gjøres på tvers av alle bransjer, hvor man spør brukerne om hva de synes om norske selskaper. Og vi har vunnet 6 ganger, og har vel kanskje lykkes å flytte litt anseelsen av tog i Norge med det. Så det vi veldig stolte over, og i år så kommer vi faktisk på andreplass, bare slått av Finn med 1/10. Og det overrasker oss veldig mye at så få har brukt oss. Så vi tar det som et tegn, og tolker det på at vi savnet, og at vi ikke glemt da. Flytoget, det ser jo flott ut. Det bare premium? Nei, det ikke premium. Dette her for alle reisende. Jeg skal jo komme tilbake til hvordan vi inkluderer, eller har inkluderende design for at det ikke skal være til hinder for noen reisende. Men hvis man ser på dette dette bildet her, hvor vi har segmentert i de som bruker Flytoget som pendlerreise, så det en stor andel. De som bruker Flytoget for å besøke venner og familie eller dra på feriefritidsreiser, så det den største andelen. Og så det selvfølgelig et stort segment av de som da skriver reiseregninger. Men det betyr jo da at brorparten her, de flytter ikke regningen over til andre, de tar den selv. Så vi mener at dette jo et tilbud som da tilgjengelig og brukes av alle. Ok, så til kjernen. Hvorfor vi opptatt av inkluderende design? Og da skal jeg røpe noen forretningshemmeligheter. Og det hvordan får man tog lønnsomt? Det å kjøre fulle tog. Det kanskje å slå på åpne dører, men det jo det som nøkkelen her. Det viktigste for kundene det høy frekvens. Det det som viktig i kollektivtrafikken. Og når først man har lagt det til grunn, så det om å fylle togene. Så da gir det jo veldig stor mening å ha så fulle tog som mulig. Og for oss så betyr det at hver enkelt kunde verdifull. Det god butikk i hver enkelt kunde, så ha en strategi hvor du måtte bevisst eller ubevisst ekskludere kunder, jo da en dårlig strategi. Så det en premiss som veldig, veldig viktig, som gjelder i hvert fall vår bransje. Og så det at Flytoget, vi mottar ikke subsidier, vi står på egne ben, og så konkurrerer vi med en aktør som får subsidier, og kan sette da priser mye lavere enn det vi kan. Og det betyr jo at vi kan ikke kaste oss på dette, vi kan ikke konkurrere på pris, vi må konkurrere om helt andre ting da. Og derfor velger vi løsninger for kundene, som ikke nødvendigvis de billigste, men som de beste da. Så det også veldig viktig å ha med seg da. Og så baserer vi våre løsninger på god innsikt. Så vi spør jo selvfølgelig kundene våre. Vi sitter ikke på loftet og prøver å finne på alt selv, så vi spør kundene, vi involverer kundene våre. Vi får løpende tilbakemeldinger, av og til så går vi ut og spør på toget og spør brukergrupper. Og her deler jeg litt av våre innsikter da. Og vi har spurt av reisende, ikke vi, dette Urbanet som har spurt, reisende både på vår konkurrent og hos oss, hvorfor velger dere det toget dere sitter på? Og da det en ting som stikker ut hos vår konkurrent, og det pris. Men så jo det slik at hos oss det veldig, veldig mange andre ting som årsak til hvorfor man velger å kjøre med oss da. Som nevnt, vi kan ikke vinne på pris, men så ser vi at summen av alt annet enn pris viktigere enn pris. Og den innsikten den helt sentral når vi skal utforme våre løsninger. Også i utforming av det nye toget vårt, så har vi jo plukket fra denne listen og se hvordan skal vi ivareta dette her best mulig. For dette skaper en merverdi i kunden, det dette som gjør at vi kan da bli preferert fremfor en konkurrent som kan tilby noenlunde samme tjeneste til en langt lavere pris. Så det vi har plukket fra denne listen, det i en måte dette med pålitelighet. Vi må ha tog som sikre, det veldig viktig, at de kommer frem i tide. Det veldig viktig, at de raske viktig, at det gir en behagelig reiseopplevelse viktig, at det god plass viktig, og lite trengsel. Og jeg tror det jo ikke blitt mindre viktig de siste 2 årene. Enda viktigere, så det var viktig før, men enda viktigere nå, så det må vi ta med oss. Og så det viktig å ha plass til bagasje også. Og vi konkurrerer ikke bare mot det andre togselskapet, men også mot bilen, som veldig sterk når det gjelder bagasje. Det lett å bare hive alt inn og kjøre opp. Så derfor det også viktig for oss å ha gode løsninger der. Vår visjon null stress, og kort fortalt så dreier det seg for oss om null friksjon. Så vi omsetter null stress-visjon til null friksjon. Og jeg skal gi noen eksempler på 4 friksjonstyper som vi bruker i vårt arbeid. Og det ene det jo tidsfriksjonen, Og eksempler på det jeg lurer på når toget går, jeg lurer på om toget er i rute, hvor mye tid trenger å kjøpe billett, det lang gangvei til toget, fra toget, alt dette her. Og det det som gjør at sikkert ikke bare jeg, men flere våkner alt for tidlig når du skal ut og fly. Du våkner sånn i 4-tiden, selv om klokken står på 6. Fordi at du stresset av dette her, alt dette her, 1000 spørsmål. Så det tidsfriksjonen. Så i hvert fall få starten av reisen til å være til å stole på, det er veldig viktig her. Så det dette med fysisk friksjon. Altså man gruer seg litt til all bagasjen man skal ha med seg. Ikke sant? Det plass til meg? Får jeg sitte? Må jeg stå hele veien? Ikke sant? Må jeg være ekstra tidlig ute for å få sitteplass? Så, og det plass til bagasjen min? Jeg hiver i bilen hvis jeg stikker ved. Ikke sant? Der også det en fallgruppe for oss, da. Hvis vi ikke løser dette på en god måte. Så det noe som vi kaller for kognitiv friksjon. Og de to første det mange som tenker på. Vi bruker mye tid på de to som kommer nå, og det dette, kognitiv friksjon. Og eksempler på det jo, ikke sant, må jeg kjenne til takst og zonestruktur og hva slags billett jeg skal kjøpe og rutekart for å komme meg til flyplassen? Jeg skal jo bare til flyplassen. Hvorfor må jeg anstrenge meg mentalt for å få til dette her? Det et eksempel. Og så har jeg rett billett når jeg først har kjøpt billett. Den gyldig? Det riktig billett? Hvilken plattform går toget fra? Jeg på rett tog? Går det til Gardermoen? Og hvis det går det lenger enn Gardermoen, kan jeg duppe og risikere havne på Eidsvoll. Og så dette også at man forstår produktet intuitivt. Da. Og mange av våre reisende, må huske på det, de ikke kjent eller interessert i Oslo og omegns rutetakstsystem. De kommer flyvende inn for resten av Norge eller for resten av verden. Så vi må løse det på en annen måte enn noe som da har brukt tid på å sette seg inn i dette og forstått det, og har forstått det. Så det den siste som vi jobber med, og det emosjonell friksjon. Det friksjon altså, som følelsen av når du ikke klarer noe, når du føler at det mislykket, da, gjort et dårlig kjøp, kjøpt feil billett, rakk ikke toget, gikk på feil plattform. Da får du en negativ opplevelse, og det knytter ofte til merkevaren. Så her det om å gjøre å skape gode assosiasjoner til Flytoget, og ikke dårlige. Da. Og da må vi tenke også, hvilke situasjoner kan det gå galt for våre kunder? Og det dreier seg om å skape gode assosiasjoner, og da ha smarte løsninger som intuitive. Da. Og vi plukket opp et lite eksempel fra en TED-talk, hvor en som heter Aral Balkan, han hadde vært i Stockholm en tur og tatt toget der, og så kom han til Oslo. Så det kan vi se på her.
Does exactly the same thing. But just look at how different it is. To buy a train ticket to the airport, I simply take my credit card, I swipe it through this machine, and I walk on the train. And do you know what this machine makes me feel like? It makes me feel like Superman.
Så det her jo et gammelt eksempel, men samtidig så det beste vi har. Og den illustrerer veldig godt hva slags følelse vi ønsker man skal forbinde med Flytoget. At man faktisk da ikke bare forstår det, men man faktisk har gjort noe smart. Så for oss så dreier det seg jo mer enn bare toget. Eirik var litt inne i innledningen. Det dreier seg om å få merkevarefølge og menneskene, og ikke bare produktet. Det som før reisen, underveis på reisen, etter reisen, og så hele dette universet av problemstillinger man blir utsatt for når man skal ut og reise. Det det dreier seg om da. Og vi setter menneskene i sentrum, og så definerer vi løsninger ut fra det. Om det på appen, om det betalingsløsninger, eller om det toget, eller om det innstilling til vårt servicepersonale, så det menneskene som settes i sentrum da. Men så kommer vi ikke fra at vi selger jo togbilletter, vi kjører tog, så jeg skal vise litt eksempler på hvordan vi tar ut dette her da i de nye togene. Mye vist på filmen, men det gikk jo litt fort, så noen eksempler kommer her. Jeg føler litt friksjon her. Der, ja. Vi har tatt det beste fra dagens tog, som vi har operert nå over 20 år, og så har vi gjort det enda litt bedre. De har fungert ekstremt godt, så noen har gjort et veldig godt forarbeid for oss. Det det ingen tvil om. Men vi har jo lært, og vi har jo kunnet evaluere de løsningene, så har vi gjort det enda litt bedre. Så vi har gjort det vi kunne i forhold til dimensjoner. Vi har gjort det så bredt som vi kan. Så det så bredt som det går an på det norske nettet, det så høyt som det går an å være på det norske nettet. Og det gjør at da får vi mye mer plass til å leke med innvendig. Vi får en bedre romfølelse. Vi får plass til større vinduer, gjør det lysere. Og vi får bredere seterader, bredere seter, bredere gangareale. Så det blir en litt annen opplevelse. Det sikkert flere som har tatt tuben i London, og klart, der føler man som man kjører en blikkboks, ikke sant? Så det her får man en helt annen følelse, da. Og det gjør også noe med totalopplevelsen, da. Og så har vi lagt vekt på utseende også. Vi kommer ikke bort fra det. Vi ønsker å måtte utstråle at dette er pålitelig, dette her er trygt, og dette her tar deg helt fram, da. Så det å få en uttrykk av kvalitet og pålitelig er også viktig for oss. Og så er vi bindeleddet mellom en fantastisk fin flyplass, synes jeg, og en fantastisk fin by. Den blir jo finere og finere, i hvert fall nede der vi kommer til i Bjørvika. Og da er det jo naturlig også at første og siste inntrykket, som ofte er med oss, er like bra. Toget skal også se raskt ut, og det er faktisk raskere enn dagens tog, da. Vi får ikke brukt helt den fordelen ennå, men i hvert fall det er dimensjonert for det. Her er bare et bilde av hvordan man tar seg lett av og på toget. Vi har jo 2 kundeverter, vi kaller det kundeverter hos oss, ikke konduktører. Normalt så pleier de da å ta på seg hansken og hjelpe til her, men her kan de da bare stå og se at dette her går helt av seg selv. Og jeg tror de fleste ønsker å være selvhjulpne, og måtte ikke være avhengig av betjente løsninger, da. Så vi har 4 vogner på hvert togsett, vi har bestilt 8, og i midten så finner du 2 dører. Det betyr at man må ikke nødvendigvis gå ut av samme døren man kom inn, hvis man ønsker en planfri av- og påstigning. Ofte blir man jo dyttet litt inn, kjenner kanskje til det, så da slipper man å finne veien tilbake, men man kan ta da nærmeste utgang da. Og vi ser også her hvor enkelt det er, og at det flukter da med plattform. Nå er det sånn at alle plattformer i Norge er ikke universell utformet, så er det noen som møter de som ansvarer det, så vil jeg gjerne gjenta det budskapet, det gjør vi til det kjedsommelige. Tydelig merking. Selv 2 statsråder kan finne fram. Vi har tydelige piktogrammer utenfor, tatt ut ganske stort, sånn at det er synlig for alle, lett å se. Det skal ikke være bortgjemt, og sånn at man kan huke at man har det. Det skal være faktisk for brukeren, det skal være lett å kjenne igjen, så man vet man er på rett plass. Vi har også utvendig merking på toget hvor toget går hen. For oss som sitter her, så er det kanskje opplagt. Man får automatiske assosiasjoner med Flytoget, men Flytoget, det ringer ikke så mange bjeller for en som aldri har studert norsk eller kan norsk og forbinde noe med det. Så derfor er det i hvert fall tydelig før man går på toget hvor dette toget går hen. Interiørbilder, full høyde. Her ser vi også at her er det funksjonelt og fleksibel innredning. Så man kan ta med seg en kontrabass eller et surfbrett. Det går helt fint. Og når man ikke gjør det, så er det mulighet for å ha stågrupper eller sittegrupper, så man kan reise i følge og ha en liten diskusjon på 19 minutter. Eksempel på hvordan det ser ut med barnevogn, relativt behagelig. Det er for øvrig mitt favorittsete. Der er det god benplass. Og så, som også ble nevnt i filmen, at alle setene er i riktig retning, og at alle reisende ser sin egen bagasje. Også en stressfaktor. Når du først har tatt med bagasjen, så vil du sørge for at den blir med hele veien frem, da. Det er jo ikke noe som er så irriterende som kommer frem, og så er ikke bagasjen med. Så også her, alle kan se sin egen bagasje. Viktig. Ja, dette er vel det siste bildet, og her ser vi også hvordan det oppleves. Da. Det er jo mer en konsertsal enn et tog, sånn som det vises her. Og her ser vi hvordan alle ser i samme retning, ser sin egen bagasje, ser også en stor infoskjerm i midten som gir relevant info. Dette er jo som regel starten eller slutten på reisen, og i hvert fall i starten av reisen så vil du vise hva skjer etterpå. Så der får du informasjon om flyavganger og om køtider eventuelt i sikkerhetskontrollen. Sånn at vi hjelper dem også på neste steg videre. Så det var den korte smakebiten jeg ville gi, og da gjenstår det bare egentlig å ønske velkommen ombord, så får dere ta en titt på egen hånd.
Tusen hjertelig takk. Du skal få presang.
Du har jo fått pris allerede.
Ja, ikke sant? Men vi slutter ikke der. Ja, vi skal snakke mer om det etterpå. Tusen takk. Det er jo nesten litt synd at det bare tar 19 minutter når toget er så fett. Ja.
Ja, men sånn er det.
Sånn er det. Man kan jo, tusen hjertelig takk skal du ha, Philipp. Vi skal få treffe deg igjen etterpå. Man kan jo da faktisk, når man drar fra Gardermoen, behøver jo ikke hoppe på Oslo S, kan jo ta det helt til Drammen, så da får man jo oppleve litt mer. Det blir bra. I et studie gjort over ganske lang tid av Forrester Research, så studerte de selvfølgelig hvordan vi mennesker reagerer på forskjellige ting, og der fant man helt signifikante sammenhenger mellom kunder som opplever å bli positivt overrasket i møte med en leverandør, og det at de faktisk bruker mer penger når de er det. Kunder som også opplevde å bli oppriktig verdsatt som kunde, det styrket signifikant deres preferanse for deg som leverandør, og kunder som opplevde å bli oppriktig hjulpet i en situasjon av en leverandør. Det gjorde at man anstrengte seg enda litt mer for å handle fra akkurat deg. Flere og flere mener at det å være besatt av kundeopplevelse liksom det som må til for at vi skal lykkes i dag, og vi har jo hørt mange eksempler på det. Men nå skal jeg skru over to English, and because now our next guest is going to talk about designing a customer experience beyond expectations. He is from a company called Seymourpowell. It's a global design and innovation consultancy who says that they are not just a company of visionary thinkers, but of future doers. So it's a great honor to welcome Transport Director Jeremy White.
Thank you, Eric. Cheers. Technical issues. Hello, everyone. Really good to be here in sunny Oslo. Lovely to see so many of you come out in the rain. I've got a couple of presentations for you, so let me just find the right one. There we go. So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit more detail about the design of the train and the journey that we went on as a team. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the strategy behind the design as well. But first of all, I'd like to introduce the design team. Here we are. So, at Flytoget, we had, obviously there was lots of people involved, hundreds of people involved in the delivery of the train, but these are the three people that I spent my time with over the course of the 2 years or so that we were spent working on the design and the delivery of it. On the right-hand side, we have Harold, who's one of the loveliest men I've ever met. And he was responsible for making sure that the new design was met the sort of operation and maintenance needs of the operation of Flytoget. In the middle we have Erland, who's here with us today, amazing design engineer. He had this unique ability of being able to measure things with his body. So that came in handy when we were doing the mock-ups. It was 3 Erlands long. And then we have Lena on the left, who is also with us today, who's now a dear friend of mine. And Lena was really responsible for making all the key decisions on the design and making sure that the new design met the brand aspirations and the ambition of the project. In the middle we have my team. That's us in San Sebastian. We had so many amazing trips out to San Sebastian and Barcelona. It was a fantastic experience to be involved in. There's my lead designer there, Nick, and he was responsible for the industrial design, and then Eleanor on the right-hand side there, who was in charge of color, material, and trim, and finish. And then, hopefully, we had the CAF team. The CAF are the rolling stock manufacturers, so they're the guys who built the train. They're out in Spain. And we were fortunate enough, and literally thousands of people probably were involved, but we were fortunate enough to have the wonderful Miran as our design engineer. So that was a team. There's a strong Norwegian contingent, obviously the Spanish builders, and us sort of in the middle translating in a way between the two parties. So that's us. I'm going to rewind slightly, if my clicker works. And when Flytoget first approached us and they asked us to help them with the design of their new high-speed trains, they told us a story. They said, we have a subsidized competitor. We won't go into too much detail about them, although I think Philipp might have mentioned them, who run a similar service, but we have the larger market share, and we're continually voted the #1 customer service brand in Norway. And for us, coming from England, where our trains are not very good, this was sort of an extraordinary statement. We were like, what? That's strange. We've got to find out the reasons why. We need to understand what the magic is. So we created something that we call the Flytoget design DNA. And I'm going to explain a little bit about what that is, and then talk you through some of it. So what a DNA is it's kind of a strategic platform. It allows us to drive consistency across all of the touch points of a brand. We've done this for a number of companies across the world. And many of you will know sort of brand models. And this is kind of a hack donut brand model. And it starts in the middle. And right in the middle, we sum up what our purpose is. That's kind of our reason for being, our reason for existing. And then outside of that, we have our values, our design values. And they add flavor to that. There are beliefs. And outside of that, we have the expressions. And they're the things that drive consistency across all of those things. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the design strategy that we developed while we were designing the train. So right in the middle, our purpose. And this is a central creative idea that inspires every aspect and every touch point of the brand, every expression of the brand. And we boiled this down to something that we call efficient tranquility. And the efficiency really speaks of our always on time, always prepared. Flytoget will get you to the airport on time. The regularity of the service, that sort of level of efficiency that comes with the service. And the tranquility is about conjuring that relaxed state of calm that happens when you're on the trains to deliver that frictionless journey that Philipp was talking about. So these two words became really, really important to us, efficient tranquility. And it's important to boil it down to something that people can capture and be inspired by. And I'm going to try and tell you a little bit about how we then translated that into the physical as we move through. But first I'm going to talk about some values. And the values are the things that add attitude and direction to the design and color, and it's how we behave a lot of the time. There were 4 values. The first one is something called above and beyond. And this was really something that we picked off of when we were spending time with Flytoget that lived in the business, This is, if the trains are disrupted, then they're out on the buses. Even Philipp's out, directing the traffic, driving the bus, maybe. I don't know whether that's true, but that's what I say anyway. But there's definitely a culture within the business where they go above and beyond the call of duty. The second value was something we called Charismatic Wit. And so this is about a cool, calm exterior that presents itself at first, but there's a twinkle in the eye and the enjoyment of being unconventional. I remember Harold always liking the fact that he might have a twinkle in his eye. And the witty part of it is, what witty means is not about being a comedy. We're not Mr. Bean here. Wit is about having humor, but with intelligence. And there are little things on the train that you'll have to spot, which do bring that out in some of the graphic work, which I won't go into too much detail today, but you'll be able to spot it. Value 3 was from the heart. This is really about smiling. I always remember when you leave the office at Flytoget, there's a reminder to smile, look smart. And there are rituals that happen on the service. And I experienced it as I came into Oslo yesterday, where the person who's counting the people on the train, there's a moment where they turn around and they smile. And that's a moment where you can engage with them. If you're feeling anxious or you're feeling nervous about the journey, that's an opening, a human opening. That's a really important aspect. So, really meaning and caring about what they're doing. And the final one is inviting luxury. This could be inclusive luxury, actually. And it is a premium service. And the belief is that everyone deserves that slice of luxury. It also means that you are being looked after properly. There's some confidence in that, especially on a stressful journey when you're off to the airport. You need that sort of slice of behavior there. So inviting luxury was another one, but it's not, it's for everybody, which means it's not pompous or, exuberant in any way. So they were the values. We had a design influence that we ended up calling Norwegian Cool. Might sound a bit cheesy now, but it was a sort of nod to, I guess, Scandinavian design, which is, of course, envied across the world, which is also with a slight Norwegian twist, of course, which is based on simplicity and utility and beauty and this idea of sort of things needing to be there for a reason. It's not superfluous, has to have a reason for existing, which is often driven by sort of function and sort of beauty. So those were our strategic messages, and now I'm going to sort of run through some of the design process and show you some of the journey that we went on. But first we need to talk about this guy. This is obviously the existing Type 71. You'll all know this very well, sort of in your cultural beings, probably as Norwegians. And we always talk about vehicles as having character, and this train has character. It has strength and determination on the platform. This guy's going to get you there on time. It looks robust. It looks reliable. And that's important. The CAF proposal, original proposal, this is what was in the bid document. This is the CAF Auraris train. It's a great platform. And while pointy and fast looking, it sort of lacked the kind of dependability and reliability that we thought that the train needed. And also it didn't have a very sort of Norwegian flavor. I remember Harold going, why is the window made of 17 different lines? And the answer is there's no reason. That's Southern European flair you're seeing there, that's styling. So we had the opportunity to have a look at it. CAF, of course, are probably the only rolling stock manufacturer who would give us the ability to deliver a boutique service, and they allowed us to change the front end. So we started with some sketching, trying to add a bit more rationality to the forms and the shapes, and try to bring back a bit of the character that would suggest or communicate reliability and strength. And there we go. We used sort of automotive techniques at the time, a bit of clay modeling. What clay modeling allows you to do is to evaluate scale and proportion. It's a very quick medium, and it allows you to sort of add on clay and take away clay, scrape it away, add on. And we brought the nose up a little bit, and we chamfered the edges, and we gave it this sort of tougher and more robust look. But of course, there are lots of technical requirements that go with the train. It's a complicated thing. The lights have to be in a certain position. There's structure in there, crash structure. There's a couple of cover that needs to come up, and that couple of cover needs to attach to another train. And there's split lines and other things you need to access, and put salt on the wheels at certain points and so forth. So it's a complicated beast. But we ended up with a vision in place. And what the black line does and the orange line gives us our sense of motion and speed, whipping up and around the top there. But it's now got a powerful stance. It's got a high brow. And we think it communicates that powerful sense of strength and reliability that communicates that efficiency as it stood on the platform edge with this proud driver there. We think it has that robust qualities that communicate dependability and reliability. This train is going to get you there. It's going to survive the harsh Norwegian winters. On the inside, however, we needed to communicate something different. We needed to conjure a sense of calm and tranquility. We also wanted to capture a bit of Norwegian spirit, a bit of the spirit of Oslo. You know, it needed to represent Oslo. Sometimes this is the first impression that a foreign traveller might have of the country, and it needed to sort of feel Norwegian. And one way we can do that is through colour, material and finish, and we often start these exercises really soon in the process, because often the colour, material and finish of a train or a vehicle can influence how you build it, can influence how you manufacture it, what techniques do you do to do that. So we start that really early. It's not an afterthought, it happens right up front. And one of the ways that we sort of deal with colour is we get inspiration, and we took thousands, literally thousands of photographs of around of Oslo and the surrounding areas. One of the things we wanted to do was, one theme that sort of came out of it was something we called Reimagining Orange. Obviously, Orange is the customer brand, and this brought us the use of copper. And actually, there's copper all over the city. When you look for it, it's in the station. And this allowed us to communicate Flytoget's brand cover in a much more sophisticated and calming way. Actually, you don't want big blobs of bright orange in the train. That's not very relaxing. So copper was our sort of brand color. We also did a lot of riding around the trains. Obviously, we need to sort of experience that. Talking to people, service personnel, and observing, watching people how they behave and what they're doing is a really important part of design philosophy and design research, observation. And there are things inside the train which create this sense of calm, this sense of belonging, and I think Philipp also mentioned some of those as well. Unfortunately, the original design, this is again the CAF bid proposal, had lost lots of the elements that make it a calming space. One of those was it became this big open carriage with lots of people. We'd lost our sort of small saloons, and we've got those blobs of orange that we don't like. And it's a bit grey, and there's some sort of strange styling again that's happening on the sidewalls and things. And again, I remember Harold going, why is it like that? And again, styling, Harold, styling. It's design. And we lost the middle divider, which of course has a luggage stack in the existing trains. But what it does also do is sets up 16 people looking at another 16 people. So you're just staring at, it's like me looking at you, It can be unnerving, People don't necessarily like to have direct eye contact. So this was the existing layout. So we asked, can we have the pillar back? And there was big questions about that, people are going to be on their phones, they don't need the pillar. But the pillar gave us more than just the calming and reassuring information. It gave us that division between facing passengers. And we brought the doors back in as well. And of course that gave us back our little enclaves. It gave us back our little personal mini saloons. Everyone facing the luggage. Everyone knows where their luggage is. There's nobody sort of behind you that you need to worry about. So that was really important. And then we decided, well, okay, so we've got this thing, this pillar back, a big debate around what it did and its function and its size and the navigation around it and the accessibility around the stairs. And we got an extra little grab hold, which actually then adds a bit of stability, people sort of navigating around those stairs. And we fought for every single millimetre We widened the entry and the gantry there. And then we tested it through mock-up. This is where Erlen was measuring himself against the stairs. So it's a really important exercise to go through a physical representation of that space, so you can test it for real. You know, even VR probably not as good. You need to be able to hold on to things. You need to test the handrails and so forth. And we came up again with a vision. The vision was, you know, this. You know, we weren't afraid of using dark colors, muted tones. We wanted the wood from the existing seats, that idea of ply. And we've got these beautiful back leather walls and little flashes of copper, and our luggage stacks are wood with some exposed ply there. The problem is with the seats that are on offer like this, these are the commercial seats that were given to us. These are the things that we had to use. And again, we were, you know, the Norwegian team couldn't deal with this. It was like, why are they big, plastic, horrible, fat seats? You know, we can't have those. And the brave, you know, decision was made to go and do a bespoke seat. And you can see what it could have been like if we'd have not made that decision. So we came up with the dream seat. This is the dream seat that was designed. And you see the detailing that was, you know, the level of detailing that we had with curved woods and, you know, detailed stitch lines and so forth. And that went out to tender to a great company called Reimagining, who delivered the seat. And it really is a super triumph, you know, running through the ergonomic testing as we did before. And finally, the design landed on this based on their platform. And it really is, you know, a super triumph all the way through to the detailing that we have on the train. You know, it's the build quality of these seats are literally second to none, and they're super comfortable. All of the ergonomics and everything have been worked out. And this level of detailing goes across the entire train. You know, it goes into the way the luggage stacks are designed, these exposed woods. You can see then the little flash of copper there that we're bringing. We used in a measured way. You know, we're not you know, using it in this sort of ostentatious way. You know, delivering against our principle of inviting luxury. You've seen this picture already today. We photoshopped a screen in the back there. You can have that one later. We'll get you that one. But yeah, so it's a combination of lots of different things that brings that calm. It's color, material, and finish, really important. The levels of lighting, the architecture of the space, those little small enclaves that deliver that, the information that's being delivered to you. The fact that you're not facing a load of people, you're watching and seeing your luggage and keeping an eye on that. And there's also consistency. No matter where you get on the train, you will find a very similar carriage, a similar layout, unlike our competitors where you can go on and go, oh God, I don't know where I am. You know, so again, that's a sort of reassurance and reliability that drives calm. Apart from, of course, one car, and that's the low-level car. And primarily the access, or the reason for having one of these is access for wheelchairs, to get people wheelchairs on and off independently. And this was the original CAF layout, which looked a little bit like this. We said stop rendering it, keep it white, we're not having this. And these are often the forgotten spaces on trains. You know, they're the utilitarian spaces, they're the ones that people don't necessarily care about. And the team ambition was far greater than that. They said, actually, we want to do something special. This is our opportunity to do something special, this car. And we started thinking and calling it the flexible car. And we started with zones and thinking about different zonal areas inside this car that could meet a whole different kind of needs, you know, flexibility and flexible design. And here's some examples of that. Here's the original sort of our vision back to them, saying we want to have these different zones. And we ended up with a standing desk, a place to work. But also, it's designed to also be able to store luggage. You can put your luggage there securely. And there's this little bay. Again, this is, you know, people with buggies, pushchairs, people with large luggage can go there. Maybe that's where you put your skis. I don't know. But also, it's a space for conviviality, a space where families can travel together. And that sort of ambitious sort of take on this space, I guess, is one of the reasons why we're here today. And I've run out of time, and it's my last slide. So thank you very much. Hope that was a little journey on the design of the train.
Thank you, Jeremy. I mean, it looks really nice. On the outside, it looks like it could take me to the space station.
Ah, yeah, maybe.
But it's, I mean, something completely different inside. I love it. Thank you so much. And, please join me. I want you in the middle here.
Okay.
We're going to invite Philipp back up here as well. And I watch that I don't step out of the stage. Yeah. Take a seat, Philipp.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll need to do this in English, of course. Otherwise, it would be strange.
Sorry.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You've been so much to Norway now, I guess, that you should...
I should know. If I squint my ears, sometimes I can hear what you guys are saying, but most of the time, no.
No. Let's keep it.
Apologies for that.
But first of all, since I have you both here, congratulations on the prize.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's a really impressive project. But now I would like to talk about inclusive design, what it's really about, and it's natural to start with you. What is it really about, inclusive design?
Well, inclusive design is the process. You know, it's the methodology. And often that is about, you know, being human-centered, starting with people, understanding diverse needs and different perspectives. The result of that is accessibility. So making, you know, things accessible to the large amount of people as possible. But I think there is also a difference between accessible design and universal design. Accessible design was the CAF's first proposal, for example. You know, wheelchairs can get on and off. It's a perfectly reasonable space to meet those, you know, bare minimum needs. The minimum requirement is often something that train companies talk about. There's a PRM regulations, the minimum requirement. But, you know, the team didn't want to do that. They wanted to do more than the minimum, go beyond those things, and create a space that's sort of universal and, you know, accepted for everybody.
Yeah, because you mentioned it also, it's not about just meeting regulations to allow people with disabilities, but it's actually about doing something that's better for all.
Absolutely, yeah.
And talking about, I mean, customer satisfaction and how it's kind of perceived to actually go on a Flytog, which sounds strange now when I talk English.
Yeah, Flytoget.
The fly train, yeah. Is that an important thing here to I mean, make this into something for everyone?
Absolutely. I mean, for us, it's also a commercial issue. I mean, he's the designer, I'm the businessman. So, and here we have joint interests. I think it's wise, based on our business model, to be attractive to all kind of customers and meet their needs in an attractive way, because they will. I mean, we're struggling with a competitor with a lower price, so they have to get something extra by going by our train. So it makes sense also in that way.
Yeah, because it's about creating maybe a experience in a way. We talked about designing experiences for everyone can take that everyone can take part in. Also, something that they will prefer over other options. What is kind of the secret ingredients here?
I suppose, you know, that's a sort of question, again, about sort of inclusive design, and there are some principles, I guess, to think about. And the first one is to appreciate that exclusion exists, right? You've got to understand that, you know, you can't create solutions based on your own biases. You've got to look through different lenses and perspectives. And we also have, you know, need to learn from diversity. We are all different, and that's normal. you know? And it should be our inspiration. And it's about, you know, empathy, running through, you know, we talk about doing empathy walks. Let's go down and actually do those things and try and experience and feel the way that other people might feel, and understanding diversity. And then the other thing is, you know, designing for disability can often result in better things for everybody.
Yeah.
I guess one of the great, you know, example I like to talk about on this is, you know, packaging. So much packaging is really poorly designed. You know, those like the boxes you get with like cellophane on them, and you have to find the little thing. You know what I mean? And then you have to whip it open. Yeah. And it's difficult for everybody, right? And there are some versions of packaging which work really well with a big tab, and it's easy to take off, and you can find it, you know. And that works for people with limited visibility and limited dexterity, but it's also better for us because it's a much easier, less cognitive load to deal with that kind of, you know, packaging. That's a very simple example of it.
Because I kind of liked also the model that you showed, that the design process is not about just meeting some kind of, I don't know, requirements, but it's about, you know, you have your 4 values, you design this for a purpose.
Yeah. It's well governed, and architecture's the same, I think. But train access is well governed. You know, thankfully, unlike actually aircraft. Aircraft's a nightmare if you're in a wheelchair. But you know, there are rules. It's got to, you know, buttons have got to be a certain position, hand grabs. But it's not always the best solution. You know, you've got to think, okay, we'll find the best solution, and then we'll run it through the regulation and make sure it ticks the boxes, rather than the other way around. Don't just follow the dots in the book. You know?
In the book, yeah. Take it a little bit over to, I mean, the business side of things. Flytoget has a very high customer satisfaction rate, as you showed 6 times in a row now. That was pretty impressive, actually. After a year of total lockdown, and you're still way on top.
Yeah, we were surprised.
Yeah. And I should think you should definitely be. But why do you think that is? Why is people so satisfied about Flytoget, and where is the greatest potential? I mean, you can't stop now. How should you, I mean, kind of go further to exceed what you've already done?
First of all, I think we need to also always deliver on the basics, high frequency, reliability. That's got to be the basic. Also, with bringing these trains into service is also very, very important. And then we're going to build new solutions and not new trains now, but features in the trains. We're now this fall introducing a fly tag, which is a bag tag that you can print with your mobile device on board the train, and you will save time at the airport, take away also time stress when you're riding the train. We're going to introduce tap and replace the old swipe. The swipe is more difficult now than tap. Tap is more a record solution now. So I mean, now we're lagging behind, so we have to adjust that. So during the fall, we're going to introduce a tap solution for our barriers, so you can pay as you go with mobile device, with a clock, or with a card. So that's coming this fall, and then we have lots of exploration for the future regarding luggage, planning. So based on the other stress components.
Yeah, so we're now actually looking at kind of building services outside the actual train, like doing it easier to order your tickets or find the different stuff for store your luggage. How important is that in the design process? Not only just making nice chairs and it's easy to get on, but getting this into a kind of proper ecosystem, like the video you showed, that he felt that machine made him into Superman. I know my previous colleagues from Stockholm, they loved coming to Oslo to take the Flytoget. I mean, that was the main attraction.
I think there are lots of things that you know, that Flytoget do, which boils down to those same 2 words. You know, efficient tranquility. The fact that you're just telling people the 2 times. You know, 1 in 5 minutes and 1 in 15. I don't need to know anything else. I just need to know that there's you know, I can have a coffee if I miss that one. You know, and there's 1 in 15 minutes. That's all about, you know, keeping people calm and relaxed. So, the ecosystem needs to work together, you know, and that's kind of
merged. Yeah, but this is also, I mean, we talked a little bit yesterday about the culture of Flytoget as a company, because you can have the nicest trains in the world, but you obviously also have the best people in the world to be. I mean, this is not crazy. I mean, this is a result of a
Yeah,
business culture?
It's a business culture. And I was coming from a more industrial perspective when I started up in Flytoget, and I also changed. So I mean, you get sucked into the culture, and the culture also changes you. So I think it's very strong and persistent to have the right culture. So we also know forward. Although we change people, the culture still remains the same. So no cheating on the customer promises or the quality or the reliability. So it stays somehow in the company.
Yeah, because you said it yourself. You're actually, putting extra effort into providing stuff that's maybe not the cheapest solution, but it's in the end, it turns out that people like that, and then they'll come back.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we try lots of different solutions, but always aim for high quality and reliability.
Thank you so much, Philipp. We'll send you off stage again, and then thank you. A round of applause. Thank you. So, because we are now going to take a look into the future again, into the future of travel, of course, but also into the future of us humans. We are living in extraordinary times. Never before have we been able to do so many things as we can do right now because of technology, because of the changes around us. And how will the society, the way we move, look in the future? How will we travel? How will we humans be? And Jeremy, I'll give the stage back to you, so you can take us through your thoughts about designing the future of travel.
Thank you. I think we got the wrong... oh, there we go. Seymourpowell, we are a strategic design and innovation business based in London. We're fortunate enough to work on a huge amount of different things. We work in product design. It's kind of where the company was founded in 1984 by two guys called Richard Seymour and Dick Powell. Doing product design, so things like domestic appliances, consumer electronics. We also work in transportation. That's the team that I run, and there we work across rail, road, and air and aerospace. We have a brand team who deal with brand strategy and brand creation and brand identity, and helped Flytoget with their new brand identity. We have a growing digital team as well, so UX and UI design, but also we have a creative technology team who are really on the cutting edge of AR and VR and mixed reality. And right at the center of what we do is something we call Foresight, our Foresight team, a lot of smart design researchers and design strategists, which give intelligence and insight to what we're doing to make sure that we are progressing correctly, have an eye on the future, but also so that we're doing the right thing for the people and the brand that we're working for. And we're fortunate to work for a number of world-leading brands, and one of those is, skipped a few. There we go. Virgin Galactic. And what you're seeing here on the left-hand side is a vision that we put together over 10 years ago. And that was before Spaceship Two even existed. And on the right-hand side, it's compared against their first successful space flight back at the end of 2019. And it seems extraordinary how the two things, even though over a decade apart, even the camera position on the boom there, are similar. But it's not really. It's not done by chance. This is something that we call optimistic futurism. It's about, and this is a lot what visionary companies do. They start in the future. They work out the incremental steps back to the present. It happens that way around. They set a vision in place, and then they work hard to achieve that vision. My founder, Richard Seymour, he used to have an expression called, it's pull, not push. You can't start in the present and try and push your way to the future, find your way this way. You've got to pull your destiny towards you. You've got to figure out what it is and then pull it towards you with all the innovation and might that you can. You know, there's a bit in this film where Richard gets really upset, Richard Branson gets upset, and that's because everybody told him he was mad. Don't do it, they said, you're going to waste your money. And he said, people have been telling me that all my life, that I'm wrong. I believe in this, and I've set my vision and my mission, and that's what I'm going to do. A few years later, we were fortunate enough, about 3 years ago, we were fortunate enough to design the production interior of the spaceship. And this is like no other cabin that's ever been produced. It has some very unique aspects to it. There's a high-intensity 4G rocket ride, so we've got to keep people safe and strapped in. And then there's a period of time where you can come out of your seats and experience weightlessness, and that's got to be an unobstructed and, again, safe view where you can navigate and go around the windows. And just this year, they cemented their place in history by beating good old Jeff Bezos to the prize of sending commercial passengers up to space. And there's Richard on his first flight, experiencing weightlessness and seeing the amazing views of Earth down below. And often people talk about coming back different, you know, it's a transformational experience for these people. They've seen the fragility of the Earth, and often people who've gone and seen these sites come down and do good. No matter what you sort of think of the commercial space business, this is just the beginning, you know? This is about pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And, you know, each of them are going to be doing different things in the future. For Richard and his team and the team at Virgin Galactic, it's likely that they'll end up doing point-to-point travel, so you'll be able to take off in Oslo and land in Australia in 30 minutes. And for us as a team, we learn about super lightweighting. We learn about new ways of constructing carbon fiber. We learn about engineered technical foam and 3D knit. And we're now applying those learnings that we've had during the journey to electric vehicles and aviation, making them lighter and more efficient. One of the other things we had to reinvent was our process. We ran what we call a digital twin, a virtual twin in VR. And this is kind of interesting in terms of its new processes. And we were able to meet people inside VR, these little blue heads as us in London, and meeting somebody in Mojave. And we can discuss and verify decisions and muck around with colors and design colors. One of the things we decided early on, the black rings around the window had the way of blurring the boundaries between inside out. We were able to fix all the camera positions. You saw the camera positions on the video before. We did that without being inside the ship. We did that all virtually. And it also allowed us to pivot during the pandemic, and we launched the interior as a virtual experience, sending headsets, VR headsets around the world to press and key stakeholders and customers, met as these little weird blue heads inside VR. And also we have the same data and workflow allows us to create an augmented app, which you can download from the App Store if you want to have a little look and put the spaceship seat in your living room. And we took this a little bit further. We use VR at home. A lot of the guys have headsets. And during lockdown, we built a pub because we missed each other. And we sat around, had socials around the fire. And this isn't like Teams and Zoom. It is completely different because your brain starts to make up the differences. You know, Craig hasn't got a body, and he hasn't got Craig's head. But very soon he becomes Craig. His mannerisms are the same. It's got his voice is coming out. It's Craig. And it's a whole different type of experience. being a virtual person. Virtual beer is not as good, I've got to say. I think someone's about to serve a pint here. And then I'll come on to the next part of it, because we're also creating in VR. We have a studio, design studio. Again, we can meet around objects, we can create, we can draw inside VR. And we can meet anybody around the world. It's really important for transport design that we see things one-to-one. And much cheaper than building mock-ups and physical things as well. But it's a space that we can go and learn and be together and create. And we weren't the only people doing this in lockdown. There was a games company that we know who met inside a game. They met inside Red Dead Redemption 2, where they had their meetings as cowboys, sat around a campfire. It was kind of a hack. As long as you kept making the coffee, you were allowed to sort of stay there. So it just shows that there's people who are behaving slightly differently in terms of how they work and how they come together in these virtual environments. And you'll have heard a lot about Facebook talking about the metaverse. These are Facebook's avatars. So soon you won't be a blue head, you will be you. And they're using face tracking and eye tracking. And you won't have to imagine that it's that person. Or you go in completely differently. You can have your own avatar, and there are fashion brands now launching VR fashion clothes and other things. And the metaverse will become a big thing where we can meet anywhere. There'll be new worlds to explore, but also accurate simulations of real places. So perhaps you'll go to see the Taj Mahal with your friends in California without leaving your house. So will that change the way we travel? Maybe not. But it will change the way we work, and has done. You know that already. You guys know that from Teams and Zoom. There's no need necessarily to meet up for business. And business travel has suffered massively, of course, and it will continue to with advancements in technologies like these. There will be less and less reasons to travel, particularly when you can bring in an object and look around it and talk around what that's happening there. Site visits, you name it. You'll be able to do all of those things. She's quite funny with her expressions. So why will we need to travel in the future? Well, I've gone backwards. It's not cowboys. This is the reason why we're traveling in the future. It's togetherness, it's love, it's friends, it's family. That's why we're going to be together. So human beings need this. These are scenes from, people meeting up over after a long time in lockdown. And as humans, we need that, Meetings, relationships, human relationships aren't formed in the meetings, not in the presentations. They're formed in the conversations afterwards and before. People who are saying we're not going to go back to work, we're going to be, fully remote. Their culture of their businesses are going to suffer, because culture is built on the, the moments in the kitchen and by the water cooler. So this is why we're going to travel in the future, to be together. And, business travel may not return, but, there will be an inevitable shift towards leisure, and probably premium leisure as well. And one of the ways in which they're going to have to do this, operators and rails are going to have to think more flexibly. We talked about flexibility in Flytoget's low car area. This is one of a concept we call Move, and it's a aircraft seat. And again, it's sort of inspired by furniture and domestic environments rather than big, mass transit environments, which are often inspired by automotive. Why do I want an automotive seat to sit on for half an hour when I can have something that's a bit more natural? And the idea is that you can have this seat, and you can sell 2 seats, and you can recline in it, and you can have privacy from your neighbor. But also you can slide the armrest across very simply, and you've got a sofa to sit on. You can spread out, you can sleep. There's a space to work and spread out, and you can buy that space by people's willingness and ability to purchase space, or it can be divided up into 3, and you can travel with your family together. And really what we're suggesting here is just a shift in business model. You know, we need to stop selling products, stop designing products, and start designing products and services and experiences. And this one is about, you know, can we sell space instead of a seat? And can we sell experiences? And we will also need to figure out the whole end-to-end thing. You know, the end-to-end journeys that people talk about. We will need to deliver and finally unlock the ways of doing that. And autonomy on the road will help facilitate some of those things. This, again, is a concept that we call quarter car. And really, it was sort of trying to address shared mobility. There's lots of reasons. It's like the Uber pool problem. People don't get Uber pools because they don't know who they're going to meet, you know, and don't necessarily want to share a car. And single occupancy in a car is obviously not great. But this car is split into quarters, hence the name. And you can book a quarter of this car. This is how it works. So again, flexible design. It's flexibility. Actually, it's been sort of driven from, you know, some of the learnings in aircraft, our aircraft design. Very simple idea. You can have the whole space to yourself, or the space can separate and you can share it with other people that you don't know. This was before COVID, by the way. It actually worked quite well in COVID times too. But again, this is about a choice between, you know, privacy and conviviality. It's a choice between the groupings of passengers that you happen to be traveling with. It's weird that I'm in there on the phone. But you see the point. Using flexible design across these things can offer different services and change the way that we sell space and sell experiences. This car, it's a cute little idea. If we're going to flood cities with electric vehicles like this, service vehicles, and it's kind of a blur between public and private transit, why can't it clean the air? Why can't it take some of the particulates out? Why can't we change the mentality of car travel? You know, instead of being these polluting things, can they do a little bit of good? So I want to also talk about how we might change. You know, talked a little bit about the how people need different things, but how might we change in the future? And you've got to sort of think about that when designing things. One of the ways we might change is something known as transhumanism. And this is the coming together of biology and technology. And there are some extreme examples of it. People biohacking their bodies to have an augmented advantage over their peers. But there are some sort of more mainstream examples of this. 25,000 Swedes have chips implanted in them. Has anyone got a chip? Typical. Have you got a chip? How many chips? You got one chip? 3. You've got 3 chips. Yeah. Of course. And Erik is a progressive user. He's one of the early adopters of you know, merging technology and biology together. And often young people are very much more acceptable to this sort of these sorts of thoughts. And of course, it's not uncommon either. You know, we are used to mixing biology and technology together. You know, it's not something that's particularly new. These are cochlear and retinal implants, and they allow people with limited sight to see again. You know, in the case of the retinal implant, it has a camera on some glasses, and that feed is digitized and sent into the eye and plugged directly into the optic nerve, giving people some recovery of their sight. One of the sort of most exciting sort of implants that I've been reading about recently is something called Ocumetrix bionic lens. And this is a little device, a little implant which goes in behind your existing lens. And the inventors claim, it's not commercially available yet, but the inventors claim that it not only improves and fixes vision, but it will also enhance your vision to the point where you, aware of this, might be able to have 3 times the power of 20/20 vision. So you could look at the end of your finger and see the molecular detail of your finger. And also, there's a space inside this implant that can allow medicine to be delivered to the eye, slow-release medicine, and also maybe technology which can start to produce augmented reality around you. So forget having to put headsets on. Perhaps one day you will all be virtual as little augmented people. And I might not be able to know the difference. So that's really cool. This guy, David Ingman, he does a great lecture, and he'll explain this much better than me. I suggest you have a sort of look at it. And he's a leading neuroscientist, and he's created a vest, haptic vest, has loads of little haptic sensors all over it. And what he's doing is he's converting sound into data, and he's allowing deaf people to hear through vibration. So people are learning to hear again through the vibrations in their vest. And the brain, what the brain is doing in both these sort of implants is interpreting those signals. It doesn't care what signals they are. The brain is this sort of amazing organ which is sort of figuring that stuff out. And David talks about something called an Umwelt, that us as beings, we see the world through our Umwelt. It's a German word, I think it means surroundings. And it's this sphere of perception. Our world is based on this sphere of perception. We see we see a certain range of colors in a color spectrum. We hear a certain frequency of sound. Our fingers, a certain sensitivity. And that forms our Umwelt. There are other creatures, however, like the snake, who has heat pits on the end of his nose. And this gives the snake infrared vision. Snake can see infrared because it's got a different kind of sensor, a different thing that's going into the brain and processing. The beautiful bumblebee, we all love bumblebees and bees, don't we? Well, we need to. And they've got 5 eyes, and in their world, in their Umwelt, they have ultraviolet as part of their world. And then this guy, I hadn't seen him before until a few weeks ago. This is the star-nosed mole, and a blind creature, and sees his way with 25,000 feeling receptors on the end of his snout, and building 3D models of the world with their nose. And the question we have, of course, is, we can't see any of these because we don't have those sensors, but can technology expand our Umwelt? And does this mean that actually our sphere of perception will change in the future through technology, and therefore our experience of being human? And I'm going to leave you now with a final video, which I'll talk over a little bit. So this is Mikey. Mikey came into the studio in London, this is our studio in London. And this is how Mikey sees. Mikey can only see out of one eye, and he can only really focus a couple of inches away from his phone. He lives his entire life through his phone. And we saw immediately when we came in that we could hack a headset, and we put his phone inside the headset. And then all of a sudden...
Can you see me over here, Mikey?
Mikey could see 3 or 4 feet. He's still got his phone 1 inch from his face, but now he can see a long distance, and he loved his shoes. He noticed that there was a little thing in between that was getting in the way of his vision.
Is this a train? It is, yeah. Scale model of a train in Norway.
It sort of brings us full circle. So we hacked out the thing in the middle. Mikey went back to seeing the way Mikey sees. And then you see him when he puts the headset finally back on, his body language changes, his confidence changes. And he spots something on the other side of the studio, confidently walks across, picks it up and starts investigating. And at one point his phone went around his friend's face, went doo-doo-doo-doo. You know how that thing happens when you focus on someone's face? And he said, "I feel like Iron Man." And one day, maybe with technology, maybe with an expanded Umwelt, people like Mikey won't be constrained by their disability. They'll have superpowers. Thank you very much.
Wow. Wow. And I mean, it's stories like that that makes it really worthwhile, I think. Because it's, I have my chips, and I meet a lot of skeptical people about that, but actually changing people's minds and vision on what we can actually do. That was a beautiful movie, really touching.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I liked the pub, and I told you yesterday that just before Christmas I was invited by a little company here in Oslo. They thought it was a pity they couldn't have a Christmas party last year because we weren't allowed. So they actually bought VR glasses, Oculus Quest 2 glasses to all the employees. So they had their Christmas party in VR, and I was invited to be a guest speaker, and it was quite fascinating, as you said, how quickly we adapted. First it was fun, and we floated around in the air, but then suddenly it just started to be natural. And one really funny incident was when we were three guys standing talking, and we weren't standing because I was sitting at my office and they were sitting back home, and suddenly one of them said, "Oh, maybe we should sit over there," and everyone went to sit down, and we didn't really need to because we were already sitting, but the experience was so cool. Yeah. So, but how do you see, I mean, all these things, and I truly, I mean, I root for them, but are we getting there?
Yeah, I think so. Again, it's about that sort of being optimistic about the future. There's so much sort of pessimism around, what we're doing, and the future. And if designers can't be optimistic, then, who can? So we've got to be able to sort of set these visions in place. Try and sort of, and optimism isn't positivity. It's not naive sort of, positivity. Optimism is understanding the challenges and then trying to work and fix those problems.
Yeah. I really feel that you lived up to you're a bunch of a group of future doers, and the saying of your founder, I guess it was, who said that you have to put yourself kind of in the future and then look back and see how we can get there, not start now and pushing forward. No, thank you so much. I think it was really. No, I almost forgot. You have a present.
Oh, that's exciting.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Now I'll switch back to Norwegian, but I will only say nice things, I promise. Så da har vi jo faktisk kommet til veis ende I dag. For dere som her, så det da fullt lov å kaste seg over de to foran her, Philipp og Jeremy, og slå ned en prat hvis det ting dere lurer på. So I'm just saying that they can talk to you. Yeah, you're actually real also, yeah. I just saw that Musk. I kind of love and hate Musk in a way, but he recently questioned whether is this really real or are we living in a simulation? Yeah, think about that. Men I hvert fall så logger vi av her nå, så til alle dere som har fulgt oss her hjemme, tusen takk for følget. Opptaket av dagens sending, den blir tilgjengelig rett etter at vi ferdig nå. Den kommer også da etter hvert I tekstet versjon. Og til alle dere som her, altså følg med videre, dere der hjemme på doga.no. Der finner man mer informasjon om kommende arrangementer, og om ting man kan være med på, om nyttig, spennende informasjon, og ikke minst andre aktiviteter I regi av Doga og alle deres samarbeidspartnere. Så med det så sier jeg tusen hjertelig takk for følget I dag, og lykke til med fremtiden. Takk.